Okay, thank you so much. Okay, will I be able to share my screen? Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Kensington. I am a security analyst, an educator, and a team lead at StandardUser Cybersecurity. I have experience in networking, and I have my CISA Plus certification. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about malware and threat actors, and then I'll be going into ransomware protection a little. And I'm hoping you guys gain a lot from this. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into it. So we have common threats, and we have less common threats. Our common threats are going to be viruses, crypto malware, ransomware, keyloggers, spyware, backdoors, worms, Trojans, rootkits, adware, bots, rats, and logic bombs. Viruses are going to target all computers on a network. Viruses infect specific files on a system, and typically a virus, you would have to open a file for it to start running. So it requires user action to spread. It can't just spread on its own. Cryptojacking malware, this is malware that's used to mine cryptocurrency. And usually this will be operated through a command and control server. So it will be operated through a botnet. And essentially, a botnet is really just a computer with malware on it that talks back to a command and control server. So there'll be malware installed into a computer, and this malware will be used to mine cryptocurrency, and it'll talk back to a command and control server. So this will be used to mine Bitcoin and other cryptos. It'll just decreases the infected system's performance because it'll be running in the background. We have ransomware. This is malware that locks or encrypts all important data on a computer. It can be real fake. It's unlocked by having to pay a ransom. And there are several different kinds. There's locker ransomware, and then there is crypto ransomware. So crypto ransomware, this is ransomware that is going to target specifically important data. So it's going to encrypt your files and not give you access to your files. And it'll be asking for a ransom in order for you to get access to the file. So it will encrypt it. It'll have the encryption key. You'll have to pay the ransom to get that encryption key. Locker ransomware, on the other hand, is just going to lock you completely out of your computer and your device. And so you have to pay the ransom in order to get in. So that's that. And then I will go ahead and discuss ransomware protection. So when it comes to ransomware, one of the biggest vectors for it is phishing. And so a lot of the initial access points is going to be through emails. So you really want to make sure that you have really good email security in place. You want to make sure that there's good user awareness training for phishing attacks in your organization. You want to deploy an enhanced email security solution. So Barracuda is a good one. And then Proofpoint is also another good one. You're going to want to implement filters at the email gateway and block any suspicious IP addresses at the firewall. You're going to want to disable macros because malware can hide in macros. So you're going to want to disable that if possible. And then you're going to want to enable sender policy framework, and domain keys, identified mail, and then DMARC. And what those are, if you don't know, so sender policy framework, that's basically verifying that the domain is who it says it is. So it's checking the sending server, it's authorizing it. I have this picture. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. This is my first time presenting on Teams, so my apologies if I don't know if you guys can see my mouse or not. But it'll go through the sending server, receiving server, and then they'll check the sending server to see if it's authorized to send the email on behalf of the domain. If it is, it passes and it goes through and the message delivered. If not, it goes to junk and spam. And it fails. And then the picture on the left is going to be for DKIM. So DKIM uses public and private keys to verify an email. So what that means is an organization will send an email with their private key. And then the receiving email service will go ahead and check and see if their public key matches that. And if it does, then it'll pass on into your inbox. If not, it'll be rejected and it'll go through spam. And then DMARC is basically a build off of SPF and DKIM. So those have to be enabled. And it's a policy. And if your email doesn't pass through SPF and DKIM, it'll go through DMARC. And in DMARC, you can decide whether you approve this email, whether you're going to quarantine it, or whether you're going to reject it. So when it comes to backup, so ransomware is obviously its key or its primary function is to encrypt backups. So it's really, really important to have backups in various places. So there's the 3-2-1-1 rule. It used to just be the 3-2-1 rule, but now it's the 3-2-1-1 rule. And what that means is you have data across various medias and locations. So usually you're going to want a backup in the cloud, and then you're going to want a backup in the cloud, and then you're also going to want to make sure that you have a primary, you'll have another backup in a different location or on site. And then you'll have a backup, and you want a backup that is going to be your primary backup, your golden backup, and that's one that's going to be offsite. And you want that one to be offline. You want that to be completely segmented. You want to make sure that nothing can reach it, because if it's online, then if there's a way to reach it and access it, then ransomware can access it as well. So it needs to be completely off the network. You want to make sure that your data is encrypted. You want to make sure that you're regularly updating, and then regularly updating system images of critical systems as well. You want to make sure that you're regularly testing backup restoration procedures. So if in case that ransomware were to infect the network, you can pull up your backups and it's all going to work correctly, and you're going to be able to get it all back up again. So testing that backup restoration. It's just very important that you keep your backup, your golden backup, offsite. And you also want to make sure that this has all of the important data that you have. It's your master version of data. So that's something that is really, really important when it comes to ransomware protection. We're going to talk about layered security. So ransomware protection, the biggest thing with ransomware is you want to stop it at the perimeter. You want to make sure it can't get in, because once it's in, it's hard to detect it. It can go unnoticed. So, the main way to protect against ransomware is to make sure it can't even enter into the network. So, you want to have a good layer security system. You want to have antiviruses. You want to have endpoint detection and responses. You want to have good firewalls, maybe a web application firewall or next generation firewall or multiple different kinds of firewalls. Have anti-malware. You want to have anti-spam filters and an intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system. And you want to have application control programs, and you want to make sure that you want to have that in place so it blocks users from installing fake or compromised applications. We have data loss prevention solutions, and you want to be able to, by having this, you want to be able to monitor if there's data exploitation being performed, because that can be an early sign of ransomware. And then on the network, you really want to be able to maintain holistic visibility of the network in order to observe network migration or lateral movement in case of a breach. A lot of times, threat actors that get into the network will know an organization's network better than the organization knows it itself. So that's the main issue when it comes to these attacks, is they know your network better than you. They know your vulnerabilities. They know how to move and how to get around without you noticing. And so it's really important to maintain a holistic visibility. You want to make sure you have properly configured ports. If there's ports not in use, you want to disable them. You want to disable SMB if it's possible. That's sender message block. If not, you want to block SMB outbound and keep SMB versions up to date. SMB, if you don't know, that is how WannaCry ended up spreading the WannaCry ransomware. SMB v1 and version 2 are very vulnerable to the Eternal Blue exploit, and you don't want to use them. You want to make sure you're up to date to SMB v version 3 if you have it, if you are using it. But if you don't need it, disable it. You also want to secure domain controllers because ransomware can spread using domain controllers and Active Directory. That's another thing that's important. You really want to harden your endpoints with endpoint detection and response and antivirus solution. You want to be regularly updating and patching your endpoints. You want to implement strong password policies. So that means not reusing old passwords, having expirations. You want to follow password guidelines from NIST. You're going to want to enforce the principle of least privilege to ensure that there aren't users that have elevated privileges that shouldn't. And also, especially when it comes to ransomware, it's really important to keep that aspect enforced, because ransomware, all they have to do is get into a privileged user, and that's privilege escalation, and then they can migrate to the network. So try to reduce or disable also the use of remote desktop protocol. Remote desktop protocol is also another common vector that ransomware uses to spread. So you're going to want to only use it if it's absolutely necessary. When it comes to RDP, you're going to want to enforce account lockouts. You're going to maintain logs of RDP login attempts if you are still having it on the network. You're going to want to change the default port number, so it's not easy for a malicious actor to scan ports and then find it. But of course, if a malicious actor actually is determined, they could still find out what port you're using, even if it's on a different one. You're going to want to close unused remote desktop protocol ports as well. Also, it's really good to require VPN access to it and to not expose RDP directly on the network, since this is a common vector. So those are some other tips. And as you can tell here, this is a picture from Coveware, and they show how RDP compromise is pretty much the biggest one of these three ransomwares. So yeah, that's not a good thing. And then when it comes to some other additional tips, another area that ransomware has been attacking has actually been VMware and vSphere, and then ESXi hosts. So some ways to help with that is to restrict access to virtualization management infrastructure, and to ensure that the systems with access are fully patched within EDR deployed. You want to disable SSH, so they can't just SSH into it. You're going to want to use unique passwords again, and enable normal lockdown mode. So this is going to allow the host only to be accessed through vCenter server. And then the best thing that I've been hearing all around right now is enforce a zero trust model. So what that is basically stating is that you don't trust any person or any device, and you're going to be continuously monitoring, and it's going to continuously regularly reauthorize its users. So that's just saying, by doing that, it's restricting a lot of privileged access, but that is also really how ransomware is getting its way to backups and encrypting. So that's why you really want to enforce the zero trust model. You're going to disable PowerShell network-wide for least privileged users. You're going to scan applications regularly for software vulnerabilities and keep software up to date. And then, in case of an attack, you're going to have an incident response plan. So when it comes to a ransomware attack, it's actually advised not to pay the ransom. But obviously, as you know, there are still organizations that do pay the ransom. And, this is really, there's times where an organization that feels like that's their best pathway. And so why would an organization pay the ransom, if you're advised not to? So some use case scenarios that would be either they don't update their backups enough, so they couldn't, or their offsite backup enough, so they couldn't pull that data and get their important information back on the network. So they might pay a ransom for that reason. They might also pay a ransom if they think that it would take too long for them to restore their backup. So maybe it messes with availability. So they think, okay, if I negotiate a ransom, then my availability will be up quicker than if I restore it from my backups. So that might be another use case scenario. But you're usually not recommended to pay it, because then, we're obviously supporting ransomware as a service, which is a criminalist activity. So, in the case of an incident, you're going to want to bring in a cybersecurity incident response team, run forensics, assess critically affected systems. And then, if you're recovering from the backup, or if you're paying, make the decision, then you're going to go through your incident recovery, and then you'll go through your lessons learned, and then you'll see how you can do things better in the future. That's what you would do in a typical incident response scenario. So now we're going to go and talk about some other malware. So we have keyloggers, so spyware that records keystrokes. And so basically, keyloggers, if you're typing in passwords, they can get your passwords and your usernames because they're logging all your keystrokes. So they can obtain credentials and other information, and they can download and install files. And then we have spyware. So spyware is used to capture as much data. It's also something like a computer. They can collect your internet history, usernames and passwords, your payment information, the emails sent and received. A fun fact, a lot of parents will use spyware on their children's computer to track what they're doing. Backdoors. So backdoors are vulnerabilities in your system to provide access to any authorized user. So this can be in the hardware, and basically this is giving access to a malicious actor. It's like another entrance into a software application. And a lot of times, cyber criminals can also install their own backdoor into applications. So typically, they will, get into a host, and they are going to install a backdoor so they can maintain that access. So that's a use case of it. And then we have worms. Worms can self-replicate. So this is malware that does not need any user interaction. It can just self-replicate like wildfire. It can even spread worldwide. So this can be a very problematic malware. And usually if you find a worm on the network, it's pretty serious. You want to make sure it hasn't spread all across your network. There's Trojans, which is malware that looks like a normal file. And it can be used to deliver any other type of malware. This can be malware that's hiding itself in a real application, or it's disguising itself as a real application and it's not. And so an example is a Botnet. I don't know if I'm saying that right, so my apologies if I'm not, which is a baking Trojan that evades signature-based detection. And then we have Rootkits. This is malware that is installed at the core of an operating system. So firmware rootkits they're able to reinstall themselves after being removed, and they can be difficult to find. So that's an issue with them, is they're not very easily discoverable. There's such thing as router rootkits also. Adware, this is malware that redirects network requests and displays advertisements. I'm sure we've all seen Adware. I get a lot of Adware for common places I shop at all over my computer or even my phone. But so Adware basically is going to store your cookie sessions, figure out what you're into, what you like, and then give you ads on it. We have bots and botnets, which I kind of discussed a little bit. So this is malware that executes from command C from a command and control server. So you're going to have your main command and control server. It's going to tell its bots and botnets what it wants it to do, which is usually going to be other just normal computers that it's gotten access to. And there's multiple different types of botnets. Their typical botnet attack examples would be for email spam or denial of service attacks, cryptocurrency mining, financial breaches, or target intrusions. We have remote access Trojans. This is malware that is used to remotely control a machine. This kind of works like remote desktop protocol. A remote access Trojan has full access over your controller. It can see your screen. It can get access to your camera. It can get access to your microphone. It can take screenshots. And it can even install a keylogger. Then now it knows your keystrokes. So they're bad news. They're not good. It's not a good thing. Kind of scary that it can have so much access. And then we have logic bombs. So this is malware that will only execute when certain conditions are met. So this will include a specific time or date, or executing a program. The main use is destruction or disruption. And this is typically going to be installed by someone on the inside. So they could have this occur if they don't get, I'm trying to think of a good example of this. It could be like someone installs this on the network and then they get fired, so they have their logic bomb go off. And then the organization hires them back on because it stops, everything goes back to normal when they hire that employee back. And then we have different types of attacks. So we have social engineering, application and service attacks, wireless attacks, and crypto attacks. I'll take a sip of water real quick. We have social engineering. So this is attacks based on manipulating someone. When it comes to social engineering plays on the fact that humans, it's in our human nature to trust easily. So social engineering attacks work really well because humans tend to trust easily, and they tend not to think that someone is having a, I guess, a malicious agenda. So, this can be with phishing emails, or this can even be, with personal relationships. I'm reading a book where they talk about how they just try to do some social engineering. I believe it was just for fun. And so this guy, and I don't know if it was his friend or his coworker, but they dress as like bug spray people. They try to get into the hospital. And so they get into the hospital and they try to say that they're there to spray to the hospital for pest control. And they're greeted by an officer. I don't remember his name in the book. I'm just going to go with John. and John's like, you guys aren't supposed to be here. You guys need to go. And so they leave, and then they're looking for a door that leads to people that take smoke breaks. And they see some people on the smoke break, and they sneak in through the side door, and then they get on the elevator. Well, they make friends with people in the elevator, and they have the ID cards in order for the elevator to go up and down, and their main objective is to go to the mailroom. So they make friends with people in the elevator, and they take them down to the mailroom. And then when they go down to the mailroom, and the employee in the mailroom asks them, what are you guys doing here? Like, you guys don't have permission to be here. They're like, oh, well, John told us we could be here. And so she initially trusts them and lets them into the mailroom. So that's just a case scenario of how it's in our human nature to trust easily. And that's how people can get access to areas that they're not supposed to. Also, social engineering can occur from insider threats as well. So it can be phishing attacks or insider threats or through personal relations. So it's very important to be wary of that. Application service attacks. So this is going to be attacks on a company's public application or services, such as a website. So that would be like web application attacks. I'm not going to go super in depth those, but some examples of that would be an SQL attack or a cross-site scripting attack. And common vulnerabilities for this would be unpatched known vulnerabilities or unknown bugs, incorrectly implemented security controls. Then we have wireless attacks. So this is going to be attacks against wireless encryption protocols. So WEP and WPA are not secure. Do not use those. You want to use the most secure version, which that should be WPA 3. But WPA 2 is still secure as well. So it's important to know that there's open source tools that can crack WEP and WPA traffic. So there can be like authorization attacks. That's an example. But yeah, you just want to make sure you're using WPA 3 or WPA 2. But technically, you want to use the newest version, which is WPA 3. That came out, I believe, last year in July 2020. And then we have crypto attacks. This is attacks that result in encrypted data being decrypted. So there's known plain text attacks and brute force attacks and man in the middle, which is man in the middle is when there is a, usually this can be done through a proxy, but you're intercepting messages and you can see what's going on in the network. Then we have threat actors and attribution. So we're going to talk about script kiddies, hacktivists, organized crime, nation states, advanced persistent threats, insiders, and competitors. So script kiddies, this is going to be a person generally of low technical ability or knowledge. They're going to use existing hacking tools to attack computers maliciously. So they're going to probably be on the exploit DB database, and they're going to be using exploits that are already out there. They don't write their own exploits. They're using tools that are already out there. And basically, they're using open source tools. A hacktivist is going to be an individual or group which breaks into a computer system with the intent of furthering an agenda. To be funded by governments looking to stir opposition among rival nations or states. We have organized crime. So this is the cohesive functionality of active threats. Crime as a service is an example. So an attacker purchases hacking services or malware. Ransomware as a service. People can purchase exploits. So that's what an example of organized crime. We have nation states and advanced persistent threats. So this is going to be the biggest threat there is. So a major threat that infiltrates the network and persists for a long period of time. It's usually nation states interested in political and economic espionage. They're going to seek to attain state secrets, intellectual property, and the personal information of government employees. And they're going to be persistent. So, you know, the biggest thing about APTs, or even just anyone that is persistent to get in, is usually they're going to find a way in. So that's why this is a really big, they're always going to be a major threat. And then this is some examples of advanced persistent threats. You know, China's going to be panda, Russia's bear, Iran's kitten, and then India, I'm assuming India's tiger. That was weird, it like flopped at the bottom. But you can also find out more about APTs on the MITRE attack website. I think it might be attack.mitre.org, but you can learn a lot more about them on there and like see things that they have done. And so we have insider threats. This is going to be a person, a group of people within an organization who act maliciously against it. This can include employees, former employees. This can include the cleaning crew. It doesn't even have to be an employer. It can just be someone that gets access into the building for the period. We have competitors. So this can be a large threat when, you know, competitors' agenda is to, you know, take down their competition. So they might have sabotage or theft of data. You know, they want to inhibit the goal of their competitor. And then we have, I think this is actually my last slide. We have threat attribution. So, you know, insider threats, employees, faculty, staff. External threats are going to, an example of that's going to be nation state. Level of sophistication. If someone wants to get into your network and they are determined enough, they will get in. That's something that has been drilled into my brain, is that if someone wants to, if a cyber criminal wants to get in, they will. So resources and funding, you know, if there's abundant funding, it's obviously going to be a lot easier and for highly skilled hackers to get in. And then intent and motivation is going to be social change or political agenda. So I know I probably just covered a lot, but I just want to thank everyone for coming here. I hope I didn't talk too fast. Does anyone have any questions revolving ransomware or malware? I don't know if anyone wants to speak or comment. I see there's comments.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask like about your certification. Can you tell me a little bit more about like what exactly you learned from it and how you prepared?
Yeah, so my certification, I have my cybersecurity analyst certification. Preparation was brutal, if I'm going to be honest. I went from knowing nothing in this industry, and I actually went to school. If you guys can totally check out the school I went to because it was really awesome. I went to Prescalis, and my school at Prescalis helped me a lot, but really, I just went, that's how I was able to get my certifications through my schooling, because it just gave me such vigorous training and labs and coursework. And it was honestly like, I probably spent doing coursework from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. like 5 days a week. And obviously I got the book. So I don't know if you guys are looking into certs, CompTIA.org, that's where I got mine from, is through CompTIA. They always have a book that goes with certification. You can get that book. I'll tell you everything you need to know. My cert, I would have to, you know how to look at logs and know how to know when something looks suspicious in a log. So, you know, if something is exfiltrating a big amount of data, that would be kind of suspicious. I learned how to use some tools. We did a lot of labs. I mean, it's kind of hard now because I feel like that was like a blur now compared to what I'm doing now. But did I answer your question, or did I not answer specifically enough?
No, I think you answered it. Yeah.
Did you want to learn more about, like, are you trying to pursue a certain certification right now?
Yeah, so I think like a lot of people in our organization are interested in security. Plus, I was wondering what the difference is because I've actually never heard of the one that you got.
Okay, yeah. So Security Plus is actually, the one I got is very similar to Security Plus. It's really just more going more in depth about analyzing logs, which where I haven't gotten my Security Plus, but from when I've looked at our company, we have a book. It's a practitioner guide, it's Security Plus, and that's what all my like lectures are on when I teach our interns. And also what the PowerPoint I just gave you is based off that, except for the ransomware protection aspect of it. But really, I think it's more just with like analyzing logs and being able to tell like what is malicious through a log, I think would be the biggest difference.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, they're very similar. If you guys are interested in getting your Security Plus, I know like my boss, he wrote this Security Plus. You can get it on Amazon, and it's by David Ebenden. Also, our company, I think we offer some free training on Security Plus. I don't want to tell you guys wrong, but I think there is some free like lessons. I don't know if all the lessons are free, and it is from our institute, which let me see if I can grab a link for you guys. Hold on. And if you guys want to know a little bit more about our organization, so our organization, we have obviously an internship program. We also have an institute. Our organization primarily makes most of its profits through pen testing. And we do some other security features besides that as well. We're currently working on an automated SOC, Security Operations Center. So that I think right now is at like 70% done. So that's some things that our organization, StandardUser, does. Hold on. Let me pull up the link, see if I can go ahead and the link to our institute for you guys. And then if you guys were interested in some of the free training that we provide, I think we have links for it. I know we have links for it. I don't have the links though, and it has to be sent out individually. So what I can do is I can give you my coworker, John, his email, and you guys can reach out to him and he can send you guys a link for some of the free training. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to find. Let me go to for you guys. Is there any other questions while I'm looking at this for you guys?
I had a question about your journey into cybersecurity. How did you get interested, and did you try a lot of different types of topics before you decided on your position right now?
Yeah, so I feel like I always knew I wanted to be in IT. And then I found out, my friend told me about the schooling I went to, which is Prescalis. And I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do in it. I just knew I wanted to be in it. And I knew I am someone who, where if I apply myself, I can learn and do a really good job in wherever I want to apply. So I ended up actually choosing one of the hardest classes. Yeah, I ended up choosing one of the hardest classes there was at Prescalis, and just going straight into the cybersecurity training and going for that certification. And that was very vigorous because there's so much to the technology field. It's just, for me, I felt like when I was doing my schooling, I felt like I was learning 7 new subjects that I knew nothing about. And it was really hard. And something that I realized is it really helps if you have some background information in all areas. So, you know, incident response, forensics, networking, you know, even just little programming, just being able to understand it, at least not being an expert, but being able to understand it, that really goes a long way. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a tough journey. It was really tough. Finding a job afterwards was really tough for me, but I got lucky and I made a connection, and that was how I was able to land my job. And I also had an amazing mentor. I think he's watching right now. His name's Alvin. He helped me a lot with networking. And he really helped me understand networking and connect dots there and be able to excel in that aspect where I wasn't previously able to excel. I am going to actually shoot my coworker a text because I just can't find this link right now. Well, I'll go ahead and send you just the normal institute link, but I know this isn't the link that I'm talking about, but it's still it's in our institute. So also, I wanted to tell you guys about our internship. So it is unpaid. I'm actually going to go back into my PowerPoint real quick. For if you're wanting to learn more and you're really wanting to, you know, figure out, okay, I don't want to go, I'm just going to skim through all these. If you're wanting to learn more, but you don't really know what pathway you want to take, our internship is really good for that because it gives you, hold on, oh, here we go. It gives you, basically takes you through 3 different stages. So a development stage, an engineering and forensic stage, an InfoSec and OffSec stage, goodness. When you're talking a lot, I find that I start mispronouncing words. And so really you'll have 30 days in development, and 30 days in engineering and forensics, and 30 days in InfoSec and OffSec. And so, you know, those will incorporate labs. We have had people too that are, if they're really excelled in development stage, they'll just skip to engineering and forensics. But so engineering, you'll be able to do some networking. You'll work with labs on that through Packet Tracer. You'll get experience working with physical memory dumps. And then I know that they have a forensic CTF at the end, and then InfoSec and OffSec. So, you know, you're going to learn security best practices and standards. And that actually follows the Security Plus, like it's going to follow the baseline skills and concepts. So, you know, if you're interested in Security Plus, I go over everything in this book, which is based off of, it's a practitioner's guide. So it's not going to have everything in the actual Security Plus book that you need, but it's going to give you like pretty good understanding of what you need to know. So that helps as well. And then, you know, you're going to get your opportunity to apply your skills through an on-site CTF in the security stage of it as well, which me and my team members have built out. Is there any other questions? If you guys are interested in doing your internship, I can send you John's email and you can send him your resume. And then if you wanted to email him about what we have available for as free educational training, you can also do that as well. Just make sure you put in the header, I'll write this, or the email. Oh, sorry, I didn't say it. I just wrote it. StandardUser Institute. Can you guys all see that? So I have the email there if you guys are interested in our internship, which from what I had actually one of our interns send me like their detailed thoughts on it, and they had nothing but good things to say, and they said it really helped them with like more real world use scenarios for everything they learned. So if you're interested in that, we are located off Denton Square in the old bank building. The internship is going to be, I believe, 90 days, because there's 30 days in each stage. I wonder, maybe, do you guys want me to put that slide back up? If you guys, I don't know if you guys all read that. You guys just let me know if you want me to put that slide back up, where it gives you more details on it. Is there any other questions?
Yes. So
I didn't realize.
I had a question. What is like the typical work day in your position?
Yeah, so my day recently has been a lot of different things. I've been kind of I've been tasked with a lot of different things. So when I first started out, I was tasked with doing a ransomware assessment for one of our clients, and so I basically assessed their ransomware readiness. So that was something I did. I spent like a week on that. But I guess typically like what I'm doing right now specifically is I've been more mainly assigned with helping out our internships. So I come in, I make lesson plans, I make PowerPoints, I teach. That's what I've been mainly doing right now. But it's just kind of, it's been all over the board. Is there any other questions?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi, my name is Simon Ayim. First of all, I want to say congratulations to you. I understand that you're alumni from the Scholars Academy. I'm also an alumni from Pescolas. I wanted to know a little bit about what's your transition like when you got your first position after Pescolas?
My transition, I think, was hard because, when I went to Pescolas, I had no prior knowledge. So it was kind of like everything's like the dots are connecting when I transitioned into my position. So it was more like, okay, well, now everything's starting to make sense, everything that I learned, like, and I also did some networking too with my job. But yeah, so I mean, it was kind of tough at first because everything was kind of still new and connecting dots, and my first thing I got tasked on with was the ransomware assessment, and I didn't know how to do that. So I kind of, I did my own research on it, and I think I did an amazing job for doing my research, but that's just kind of how it is in the IT field. It's like, if you don't know something, you gotta do your own OSINT. So, your open source intelligence, you gotta look things up, you gotta do your own research and then figure it out. That's kind of a lot of what my transitioning was just figuring it out. How has your journey been?
My transition has been great so far. Amazing that today I got an offer from a company. So from FedEx, I'll be working with FedEx as one of their senior cybersecurity engineer. So it's been wonderful. Pescolas really changed my life. And Mr. Alvin Abraham told me about your presentation today. And I said, you know what? I need to be there to encourage you, to let you know that we are rooting for you, because once a Pescolas is always a Pescolan. So I just want to say that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I definitely, I'm all here for Pescolas, and I love hearing everyone else's journeys. And I try to keep up with everyone that was in my class and see how they're doing from time to time. But yeah, I'm so thank you for joining and listening to me.
Anytime. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. I see Alvin asked what I like most about my job. I like the learning aspect. I feel like I learn something new every day. So I think that's really cool. It's just a continuously continuous learning cycle for me. Is everyone here specifically trying to get the Security Plus certification? I'm just curious. Or is there any other certifications that people are interested in that are listening right now?
I'm actually going for a whole different certification not related to security.
What certification is that?
I'm going for the Cisco CCNA certification, but I find cybersecurity to be very important in IT in general, especially when it comes to networking. So I love being able to learn what you've talked about today and being able to apply it as to being able to harden the network more and protect against such attacks, especially WannaCry.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, the CCNA is a really, really awesome certification. I know if you get that, you're pretty much guaranteed a job. So that's awesome. Well, congratulations. I'll be excited to hear when you get it. And then, oh, sorry, I didn't interrupt you. You're welcome.
Oh, no, you're good.
And then I see someone, I think it's Ali in the comments, said they're interested in the CompTIA. So yeah, there's a bunch of CompTIA certifications. I know that there's like, they have networking, certification networking, and then Security Plus. They have the one I got. They have a ton of them. Is there any one specific that you're interested in? Is it Ali? I don't know if it's doing, yeah, I think that's how it's doing names, last name and first name. Oh my God! So I thought it was Heba, but I didn't see, like, the first name doesn't. Oh, okay. I see how it was. It was saying your first name, and then I thought your first name was the second one. My bad. I thought it was Heba. I was so confused when I saw the Ali part. Does anyone else have questions? Or should we wrap this up?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm using headphones that I've never used before, so it might sound weird. Hi, and thank you so much for having this and kind of talking through your whole process of how you got to where you are. So my name is Tafadzwa. So I don't have any background in cybersecurity, whatsoever. I come from an audit background, IT audit. So what would you say would be a way to break into cybersecurity? I know saying cybersecurity is not really specific, but trying to break into that world, what would you say would be the best starting point?
Yeah, so I definitely think certifications are a good starting point. That definitely can help you grasp more knowledge. Definitely, you really want to, make sure you're in an atmosphere, like you're maintaining, I guess, when it comes to like social media and whatnot, you want to make sure like you're following, people that keep you up to date with security breaches, things going on. That's a big thing. You can join clubs. There's tons of clubs around Dallas, hacker clubs. There's like, I think it's School of Pwn. I think that's one of them. But they have a bunch of clubs around. That can help you a lot, and that can help you a lot with like networking. And then I know that there's like going to events where people speak as well. That can be a good way of networking and breaking into the field, because you can make a connection and then someone can just offer you a job. I just spoke at KCB Sides. I think it was last weekend. It's just been like a crazy couple of weeks for me. And I know that there's people there that told me like they got jobs that way. But definitely you want to do your own diligence of, trying to learn, getting books on, if you're, I guess it depends where you're specifically going into cybersecurity. But, you can get, Security Plus book, or you can get things that have to do with certifications, or you can do like an incident response book, malware analysis. It kind of just depends what pathway you want to take. I do know that if you can like understand a Windows like operating system, which that book is like, it's called like Windows Internals. That book is huge, but if you can understand that, like you can like get that all down, you're pretty much guaranteed a job as well. So that's another way to break into the field. But that wouldn't, I don't know specifically if that job would be like specifically in, it would be in cybersecurity, but I don't know what the specific position for knowing that would be.
Yeah,
Did I
that
help answer your
sounds.
question?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, that's just one of my, I guess, complications trying to figure out, okay, where would I fit? What would I see myself? But then again, that goes back to the fact of doing due diligence and doing the networking and researching and all that stuff. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and it is hard. It's hard to know because there's so many different paths. So yeah, I mean, that's what's cool about our educational internship is you can kind of grasp that. You get kind of like 30 days in each section, which I wish I could go through an internship because then I could be learning about forensics and incident response. But I already know networking, and then probably get a little better at coding. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult. Yeah, just kind of doing your due diligence.
Awesome. And then one more thing, I guess, to follow up, and you just mentioned right now when it comes to coding, like I'm not sure what programs you know or are still learning. Did you know any sort of program before, or did you begin this whole crazy deep dive you did where you just went in head first?
Yeah, so I went in head first. I did not know programming. I learned Python. I have not had a chance to learn anything else. And I learned that I started off as an intern at StandardUser, and I learned it there. One of the best ways to learn coding, if you're interested in it, is to do a project. Also, there is websites where they'll like give you free training on it. I was signed up for one. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's called Code Academy. Let's see. I think it is. But you can do that. I'm someone where I can pick up, like I can understand, kind of, because it's actually just like a different kind of language. I can kind of pick up on basics pretty quickly, and then also doing a project really helped me. Which the project I did was basically just try to build a website, which that involves some, I think it's CSS and then HTML code. So I guess I did a little bit of that. Okay, I just sent the link for you guys.
Yeah, I just saw it come in. But yeah, thank you so much for answering both of my questions.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. We're about at time. So again, thank you so much, Kensington, for coming in to talk to us. And I'm sure we learned a lot. We have, a lot of different types of members, some people who are just getting started, some people who already have some skills. And I feel like this was helpful to both, as you covered a lot of different topics, both theoretical and also how to get your foot in. So yeah, thank you so much for coming in, and also for everyone who's here right now. Hopefully your midterms are going great, and if you're not done with them yet, good luck for the ones coming up. But yeah, have a great rest of your night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. It was a pleasure speaking to you guys.
Thank you.